Hey guys, Joe here, Joe Rachel here, your buddy, your brother in the struggle. So I wanted to bring a real quick video, real quick. This is not going to be an in-depth book review by any stretch of the means. I'm sorry my eyes are watering. It's just one of the symptoms I have that I am dealing with. My eyes are watering constantly. Sometimes my nose too. So anyway, it's part of the fun. But I'm super excited to share with you because I think this is one of the most information-packed, and I'm excited because normally you have this sort of yin and yang that's sort of opposing two camps within the cancer treatment in world, let's just call it. You have the conventional treatment camp, and those people are very militant, and they think that any talk of any alternative medicine or any alternative treatment is just complete hogwash, and they get upset and don't want to hear about it. I guess that would be on the more very strict militant side of it. Some people are just, passive about it, of course, and only medical system, only conventional treatment. Then you have the other spectrum. You have the people that are super militant about holistic and natural, and only natural, and everything else is deadly and chemicals. And I agree, chemicals are bad for the body. They don't assimilate, but the body can clean itself and rid them over time. So there is benefit in proper dosage, treatments, and prescriptions of certain things. I would say that now that I know quite a bit more. I was in the camp, the holistic camp, and I was very militant and very strict that nothing else would work except holistic, and that the cancer industry and all the medical systems were just there to make money and no results could be had of them. I was wrong about that. I gotta be honest with you. And why I'm excited about this book is because Jane McClelland, the author, and I believe that's her name, I'll put the information below, and the book is called How to Starve Cancer. And she combines the two worlds. So she ended up battling her stage 4 metastasizing cancer with combination of chemo and supplementation and off-label drugs, which is really exciting. Are these off-label drugs that you can potentially get prescribed to you and get excellent cancer treatment results from, but they're not being used by the medical industry because they're off patent and they can't be a successful treatment and yet make a lot of money for the drug company. So it seems that they like to have their drugs within the realm of being patentable so that the maximum amount of profits can come. Once a drug's not patentable, anybody can make generic versions, and so there's no really ability to skyrocket the profits and the sales, or I should say profits only of those particular type of drugs. But what Jane McClelland is doing is she did, because this is now the last 20 years that she's gone through this and developed this system, and now she has this book available that you can read, but she's marrying those two worlds together. And she's not a big proponent of chemotherapy per se, but these off-label drugs, supplementation, and diet. And of course, what are we thinking if we're thinking that what we put in our body has no impact on sickness, illness, disease, or cancer? I mean, that's just nonsense. That common sense would tell you that if I drank antifreeze every day, I'm probably going to die at some point. And so slowly over time, all these preservatives and all these chemicals that are in the foods, they're playing a dangerous role in our overall health. And I think it takes about 30 to 40 years for the accumulation to build up in order for those things to impact our bodies and cause sickness, illness, and disease. Because that's kind of about the sweet spot where we see cancers and stuff really taking off, is about 30s, 40s, and above. And so that's a whole nother thing to look into, but it's interesting. But this book is just exciting. I think it's a must read for anybody with cancer or somebody who's really diligently seeking and looking for answers for their loved one. So the Joe Tippins group, this book is popular, And I can see now why it's popular, because this lady is really putting down, and I haven't quite finished the book yet, so maybe I'll do a little bit more of a in-depth sort of a book review. But, you know, it's really good. And it's exciting to hear the information, because, and I'm finding out this is true, my doctor is not a man of many words, and I think what it is there is they've found that the majority of people do better with their treatment if they're left not knowing much, because knowing every little detail, maybe for instance cancer markers, knowing when your cancer markers are rising and falling may be too much information for a lot of people, so they don't talk about it. So I had no idea there are specific cancer markers for different types of cancer, and different types of supplements can impact those different cancer markers, and some are good for some cancer markers and types of cancer, and some are bad and actually promote more cancer growth with other types of cancers. So there's a whole science to this thing, and I don't think the medical industry, and you find out from the book too as well, she spent the last 20 years really wondering, why is the cancer industry not picking up on this information? And it's not that they don't want, they don't want it. It's not that they don't know that it's there, it's that they don't want it, because the profits aren't there. And you got to understand, there is business involved. No matter how good your oncologist or your nurses are, they're not at the top of the pyramid of the profit structure of the big pharma. And money talks. That's the boards of directors and the educational boards and the different types of power structures way above, way at the top. Those are the people that would be deciding what treatments are standard and what drugs are standard and how we're gonna approach oncology. That would be way, way, way up there, that this stuff is determined and decided upon. So it's not your doctor, it's not your nurses, and they're not hiding anything from you. They really would like to see you healed. A doctor looks better if more of his patients survive. So your average oncologist wants to help you, but then he doesn't want to step too far outside the boundaries, because let's say he starts implementing some of these alternative treatments and his numbers start looking double. He starts having double the survivors. Guess who's going to be looking at him? The medical establishment itself. They're going, you can find out that this is true by looking and studying alternative treatments. Every single practitioner of successful alternative treatments out there has been scrutinized by the FDA and the medical establishment and derailed and tried to be, they want to make that go away. They want to make it go away. Any word of success or any inkling that something has changed. So if your doctor steps too far outside of his boundaries and starts having amazing results, he could be scrutinized for that. So it's not that he doesn't particularly want that, but there are these looming threats for them of being stripped of their medical degree and their ability to practice just because they've done something that the medical establishment doesn't approve of. That is fact. And so some are just in it for the money, and they prescribe the drugs and go along with the flow, and if you die, you die, and that's no skin off their teeth. There's some doctors that are really good and concerned and maybe might experiment a little bit and do a little bit off-label, treatments and prescriptions and different things like that. And there's some that are just fearful and they won't do that. And then there's others that go crazy and do it and get stripped of their license. So these things are real, they're happening. But this book is fantastic. Jane McClelland. I learned about cancer markers, different types of cancers have, and I'm learning just quite a bit about supplementation, berberine, and different things that she's come up with and used and has had success with. So I think the book is fantastic. And the main thing is cancer is coming back. It's not curable through chemotherapy because it doesn't, chemotherapy does not attack or remove the cancer stem cells. And so to know this is going to come back, to know your type of cancer, to know the type of markers that are involved, to know the types of cancers that are commonplace after the particular cancer you have is treated. I'm finding out that that's all frustrating, but it's better to know what cancers I'm worried about later, if my cancer can come back, what cancer markers are involved, what foods cause inflammation and what foods are successful, what supplementation might be successful in treating those particular things, what off-label drugs are going to maybe play an important role. And so all this stuff is really big, so I really recommend that you read this book, get to know the information for your own sake, and use it to your advantage. So remember, there is hope. It's not the end. I love you, and we will talk to you soon.